we're going to start off with está. Está is he, she, or it is. Está. So is, he, she, or it is. Then we're going to have en casa. En casa, in house or at home. So en casa, at home or in house. Then we'll have enfermo. Enfermo is a bit like infirm, and it means ill. Enfermo, ill. And we've got todo el mundo. Todo el mundo, all the world. Todo el mundo, all the world. In other words, everybody or everyone. And finally we're going to have el pobre. El pobre. Pobre means poor. Pobre. But when we say el pobre, it's used to mean the poor thing. The poor thing. So somebody you feel sorry for. The poor thing isn't feeling very well. The poor thing. El pobre. Okay, let's practice these for a minute or two before moving on to the main part of the lesson. Okay, so let's use está. So he, she, or it is. How would you say she's at home? Está en casa. Está en casa. She's at home. Also, he's at home. Está en casa. How would you say he's ill? He's ill. He's infirm. What would that be? Está enfermo. Está enfermo. You probably know to say he's not, we just start with no at the beginning. So how would you say he's not ill? What would that be? No está enfermo. No está enfermo. He's not ill. So está, he is or she is. So how would you say she's ill? Now it can't be está enfermo. That's he's ill. The está stays the same, but we change enfermo, which is masculine, to enferma, being feminine. So how would you say she's ill? Está enferma. Está enferma. How about everybody's ill? What would that be? Everybody's ill. Todo el mundo está enfermo. Todo el mundo está enfermo. Everybody's ill. How about the poor thing is at home. He's ill. The poor thing is at home. He's ill. What would that be? El pobre está en casa. Está enfermo. El pobre está en casa. Está enfermo. The poor thing is at home. He's ill. Okay, if we want to say exhausted, so if somebody is exhausted, the word is agotado. Agotado. Agotado is exhausted. Let's just examine this word for a second because it's quite interesting. Agotado. Agotado. In the middle, or the root of this word is gota. Gota. And una gota is a drop. A drop. And actually the word gota, we have a word that comes from this origin in Latin, which is gutter. And the origin of that was in Latin was gutter, which meant drop. So it's all related. So una gota is a drop. And agotado is kind of used up to the last drop. Used up to the last drop. In other words, exhausted. Everything's been used up. Nothing left. Exhausted. Agotado. And just one more thing about gota. Incidentally, gota also means gout. So you may be one of the few learners learning Spanish that knows how to say gout in Spanish. Gota. gota. So gota, drop, gota, gout, and agotado, exhausted. Okay, no drops left. Agotado. Okay, how would you say he's exhausted? He's exhausted. What would that be? Está agotado. Está agotado. How would you say he's at home? He's exhausted. What would that be? Está en casa. Está agotado. Está en casa. Está agotado. How would you say she's exhausted? Remember what we did to make she's ill? How would you say she's exhausted? Está agotada. Está agotada. She's exhausted. How would you say the poor thing is exhausted? The poor thing is exhausted. El pobre está agotado. El pobre está agotado. And how would we say the poor thing, she's exhausted? The poor thing, she's exhausted. Well, you know the second part, she's exhausted. We just looked at that. But a little attention needs to be paid to the poor thing. So at the moment, el pobre, el is masculine. So we'd have to change it to la pobre. La pobre. Okay, the poor thing, feminine. So how would we say the poor thing, she's exhausted? What would that be? La pobre está agotada. La pobre está agotada. The poor thing, she's exhausted, or the poor thing is exhausted. How would you say everyone is exhausted? Everyone is exhausted. So at the moment, with the pandemic, everyone's exhausted. What would that be? Todo el mundo está agotado. Todo el mundo está agotado. How about if we want to say they are exhausted? They are exhausted. Well, we've seen he, she, it is está. So the plural of that, the they, we just add the letter N, están. So están, they are. How do we say they are at home? Están en casa. Están en casa. How do we say they are exhausted then? They are exhausted. Están and just before we get to the end, if you've written or thought agotado, just remember it's plural that we're talking about. So you need to make that agree and be plural as well. So how would you say they are exhausted? Están agotados. Están agotados. They're exhausted. Están agotados. So how would you say they are ill? They are ill. Están enfermos. Están enfermos. How about they are at home? They are ill. They are exhausted. Están en casa. Están enfermos. Están agotados. Okay, so agotado meaning exhausted. We also use this, we use in English as well, we say that stock has been exhausted or is exhausted. A product is exhausted. In other words, it's sold out. It's sold out. So we can use agotado for sold out as well. So let's say this product. So este producto. This product. Este producto. And a sign we might have seen in our supermarkets all too often after the panic buy-in was this product is sold out, was exhausted. This product is sold out, particularly on perhaps the toilet roll aisle. There'd be the sign, this product is exhausted. So how would you say that? This product is sold out. Este producto está agotado. Este producto está agotado. Let's take the tickets for a concert. So the tickets, las entradas. Las entradas. Las entradas are the tickets. So how would we say the tickets are sold out? The tickets are sold out. Las entradas están, and careful how you finish agotado. First of all, it needs to be plural, and also it needs to be feminine because entradas, ending in as, las entradas is feminine as well. So, las entradas están agotadas. Las entradas están agotadas. The tickets are sold out. And the word for sad is triste, triste, sad, triste. How would you say the poor thing is sad because the tickets are sold out? The poor thing is sad because the tickets are sold out. What would that be? El pobre está triste porque las entradas están agotadas. El pobre está triste porque las entradas están agotadas.